So I've worked in three completely different tech roles as a software quality assurance engineer, a software engineer, and now currently being a senior data analyst. And here's the thing that I realized. It's not the languages you know, it's not the certifications you have, it's not even your degree. What actually gets you hired and helps you thrive is actually way simpler than what most people would think. So in this video, I want to share the biggest lessons I've learned from each of these jobs and the skills that really matter if you're trying to break into tech. Let's get into it. So I'm going to start with my first role, software quality assurance engineer. At first, I thought it would be all about testing buttons, logging bugs, but I quickly learned that quality assurance is so much deeper than I initially thought. It taught me how software breaks and, more importantly, why it breaks. So here's what mattered the most in that role: curiosity and communication. You have to think like both a developer as well as a user. You need to be able to say, hey, this feature technically it works, but it's confusing user experience. And you need to be able to communicate that clearly with engineers and also the product managers. What actually didn't matter in this role was knowing every testing tool and automation framework. Those can be learned on the job. What mattered was being very detail oriented and asking, what if this happened? What if that happened? What if a user happened to do this? Even though that wouldn't be the normal path. Is it possible that a user could go down this route and break the application? These are the types of things that you think about, or you should be thinking about when you're in this role. That mindset, thinking critically and communicating clearly, ended up being a foundation for every tech role afterward. So on to the next one. This was the mecca. This was my top. This is what I've always wanted to be. A software engineer was my next role. And this one humbled me quickly. I thought that just writing clean code would make me stand out, but I realized that people who advanced the fastest were actually not the ones writing perfect code. They were the ones who could solve real problems and work well with others. So what matters most here is problem solving, communication, and collaboration, despite what most people might think about software engineers. If QA taught me how to spot a problem, software engineering actually taught me how to solve them under pressure, with deadlines, and in teams. I learned that the best engineers aren't necessarily the best coders. They're the ones that take these messy requirements and they're able to ask the right questions and deliver something that actually works. What didn't matter in this role was, once again, knowing every framework or programming languages. We mainly just wrote C# code at that time, and I didn't need to know a bunch of languages or frameworks to actually do my job, despite what a lot of people may think about software engineering, because that stuff changes constantly and there's no way to keep up with every language and every framework. If you can learn fast, write readable code, and explain your decisions, you'll stand out way more than someone who just flexes their syntax knowledge or their language or framework knowledge. So then I moved to the data analyst role, which I'm lumping that in with my current position of a senior data analyst. I've been doing it for about 4 years at this point, and that's where the beginning of how data connects with the business impact started to really set in for me. Suddenly my work became more than just technical. It became strategic as well. But what mattered most here is understanding the context. It wasn't enough to say something like sales dropped 20%. You needed to explain why and what should happen next. That meant combining data, storytelling, and business logic. I realized the people who grew fastest in data roles are ones who can translate numbers into insights, communicate those insights to non-technical people, and tie them directly to business decisions. In other words, impact. So what didn't really matter in this role is being a wizard in all of the different data analysis tools, SQL, Python, or things like Tableau at that point. Don't get me wrong, that stuff is great and it's great to know it, but it's actually useless if you can't explain what these numbers actually mean and how it's going to help or hurt the business. So let me tie this all together. Looking across all three of these roles, QA, software engineering, and now data analytics, the skills that mattered the most actually had nothing to do with the specific tools. It came down to this: problem solving. Can you take something that's unclear and figure it out? Communication. Can you explain what you found clearly to others? Number 3, adaptability. Can you learn fast, stay calm when things change? 4, business awareness. Do you understand why your work actually matters? Those are the skills that make people want to work with you and keep you around. Every hiring manager I've talked to looks for that combination. Someone who's not just technical, but effective and can have real impact in the business. So if you're trying to get into tech, don't obsess over the perfect tech stack or the right certification. Focus on building skills that transfer across roles. The tools will change, but the fundamentals won't. And if you can prove that you're curious, reliable, and good at solving problems, you'll never struggle to find work in tech. Trust me, I've seen it from many different sides. So if you made it to the end of the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you want some projects that can help you stand out for your first job, I can make a video on the things that can make you stand out in each of these roles. Leave that in the comment if you want that video. Love, peace, and chicken grease. I am out.